There is one muscle group in your body that tells everyone that you work out, and that muscle group is your arms. So growing up, I'd always seen bodybuilders like Arnold, Franco Columbu, Larry Scott, Ronnie Coleman, and I always noticed that they had some pretty big arms. And younger me was like, I want some pretty big arms. So now our question is, how do we get arms like that? In this video, I'm gonna go through 3 separate parts. 1 being the requirements to get big arms, 2 being biceps, and 3 being triceps. So let's get started. Before we even start talking about the exercises that we need to do, there are a few requirements that we need to have in place in order to grow. Number 1 is progressively overloading. Number 2 is the frequency. You're gonna wanna make sure you're going to the gym at least twice a week and working out those arms. And lastly is your diet. 0.75 to 0.8 grams of protein is usually a good benchmark. Make sure to be hitting those, and then you can start focusing on the exercises that you're doing. And now that that's out of the way, let's start talking about biceps. The bicep is composed of 2 different heads, short head and the long head. The long head is in charge of giving you that peak. The short head gives you the thickness and width from the front. So if you wanna work on giving yourself that big peak, you're ideally gonna be working that long head. And if you wanna give yourself that width, you're gonna be working that short head. Now there's another part that most people completely skip, and that's a brachialis. The brachialis you can't technically see when you're working on it. What it does do is lift your bicep up from underneath, and it helps that peak become higher. So you could target this with any sort of hammer curl or reverse curl variation. For biceps as a whole, I would recommend regular heavy bicep curls for overall growth. In terms of trying to bias that long head, you could do something like an incline curl variation. And in terms of biasing that short head, you can do a preacher curl variation. And lastly, for that brachialis, any sort of reverse curl or hammer curl variation. The tricep has 3 heads, the long, the lateral, and the medial. The long head is the biggest of the 3. It runs along the back of your arm and gives you the thick hanging mass look from the back. The important thing to know is that your long head is only fully stretched when your arms are overhead. Any sort of overhead skull crusher or cable overhead pull down should work it out. Next is the lateral head, and this is what gives you the horseshoe shape. You can hit this with cable push downs or close grip bench. The medial head sits in between the 2. This is the one that you don't really need to work out, and is activated when you work out the other 2. All you have to do is make sure that you're fully locking out all of your reps. So we've talked about how to get big biceps and big triceps. But if we look at bodybuilders like Dorian Yates, Lee Priest, and Ramon Dino, there's still one thing missing, and that's forearms. The forearm has 2 sides, the flexors and the extensors. The flexors run on the inside of your arm. These are the muscles responsible for curling your wrist towards you. You can train these by doing any sort of wrist curl. You could do a straight bar wrist curl, a wrist curl with a barbell behind your back. You can also grab a dumbbell and curl it off a bench. The extensors run along the top side of your arm. You can train these with reverse wrist curls or just reverse curls. Reverse curls work the extensors and also the brachialis. Aside from training them in isolation, doing any sort of heavy lifting will train these forearms. Things like heavy barbell rows, deadlifts, pull-ups, farmer carries will all work it out. There's one last thing that I wanted to mention, and that is genetics. Not everyone will end up with arms like Ronnie or Arnold. It's almost entirely up to what your body is capable of, and it's up to you to push past those limits. Someone might have arms twice your size and train half as long as you have, but it's important to look past this and focus on your own individual journey. That's it for me. Make sure to like the video, comment, and I'll see you in the next one.